Well, imagination connoisseurs, greetings and welcome to part 3 of the John Campea Show open spoiler discussion for Doctor Strange in the Mouth of Madness. I'm once again Robert Meyer Burnett, and I am going to take you on a journey of, well, your own questions that you sent in. Hopefully they're good. You already, I was scintillated last night. Now it's the next day. Let's continue on, shall we? We're going to start with Rusty Waja. Sends in a $10 super chat and says, Wanda's life has been 90% pain and grief. Her only happy times were as a kid before the bomb, with Vision and in her fake world. Once she learned the truth of dreams, I assume from the Darkhold, it was 24-hour torture. Sleep and see what you can have. Wake up to a world without Vision or her kids. I think that weeks of that torture, compounded with the corruption of the Darkhold, broke her. Rusty, you're a very perceptive individual, and I think that you just summed up the real horror and tragedy of Wanda's situation. And as you astutely pointed out, 24/7, she was tortured in her dreams. She was tortured in her real life. No wonder she went around the bend crazy. I mean, I've had a few girlfriends that were a little crazier than her, but, you know, the crazy ones are always kind of fun. She wasn't fun. She had too much horror in her life, and I think ultimately that made her a more compelling villain because you understood where her pain came from. So, great observations. Great observations. Timothy Garrett Fulham sent in a super chat and says, I don't care what anyone says. I love this movie, and I thought it was great. The scene where Wanda is ripping through the Illuminati reminded me so much of Invincible when Omni-Man is killing everyone. Yeah, it was kind of cool. I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. I would love to have had more of the Illuminati. I would like to have the Illuminati maybe team up and have that sort of men or people on a mission feel and carry through the end of the movie and have an epic battle with Wanda. But aside from that, I mean, come on. The way there was a little Omni-Man in there. The way she, like, killed Black Bolt, turned Mr. Fantastic into spaghetti. I mean, I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, basically she totally Darth Mauled Captain Carter. You know, it was pretty great. I liked it. Not going to lie. Let's see. Timothy Garrett Fulham sent in a $5 super chat and says, what shocked me is apparently the MCU is acknowledging Inhumans. Odd considering it was such a critical failure. You know what, though? I thought it was baller that Kevin Feige decided to bring back Anson Mount, who is awesome, and put him in this movie. I mean, Anson Mount had a great week. He's in Multiverse of Madness, and he comes back as Captain Pike in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Yeah, I mean, look, the Inhumans are a great bit of Marvel lore. So in whatever multiverse you can say that TV show is from, that was not good. But Anson Mount as Black Bolt acquitted himself admirably. And, you know, they were going to make an Inhumans movie until it was scrapped. I think this actually opened the door to make me want to see an Inhumans movie. You know, I mean, hey, Fox put out Wolverine Origins with the first version of Deadpool, and then they later put out more Deadpool with the same actor playing a much better version of that character. They kind of could do the same thing with Anson Mount as Black Bolt. I'd be into it. Why not? Rusty Waja said, I'm glad the book of Ashanti was destroyed. Having a Deus Ex Machina book around would be a nightmare from a story writing perspective. Can't disagree with you there. I mean, I don't like when they do that. And I think Marvel, look, as I've said, I love the MCU, but my big complaint with where the MCU is now is with all this cosmology between the Time Variance Authority, the Celestials, the Egyptian gods, Gore the God Butcher. Where are we? It's like expanding outward. Like the Marvel universe has had this big bang, but I don't know where it's supposed to end. What's going on here? Where's the focus? Where do they get focus, people? But I'm glad getting rid of the Book of Ashanti and the Darkhold has been destroyed. So hey, we're okay, at least there. ABD, one of two, says, I love the Illuminati death scene. I hated Captain Marvel in it. First, she saw Black Bolt and Richards die, and her face reaction is of annoyance instead of rage or shock or terror. Second, when everyone else is dying in a cool way, she just got crushed. Like, for why? You know, and I really love that actress. I was always a proponent of her in the new Bond film. I thought she was great as the new 007, and I wanted to see more of her. But you're right. I mean, look, to be honest, I think I liked seeing the Illuminati. I wish they had done more with them. And I still don't understand. It's almost like they all went up mano-a-mano against Wanda. They didn't coordinate their attacks. I would have thought that the Illuminati would have been the most coordinated strike team of multi-dimensional superheroes ever. But they didn't have any coordination at all. They just one at a time walked into their deaths pretty much. And yes, her death scene was rather inconsequential. So I agree with you. Logan Hoyne sends in a super chat and says, Wanda could have gone to a universe where her kids lost their version of Wanda. There are an infinite number of universes. It bothered me a little. Well, Logan, that would, I mean, she wasn't in her right mind. She was around the bend crazy. And I think that she wasn't thinking along those lines. And then how many universes would she have to search through to find one where her kids lost their mother? I don't know, but I like where you're going with that. I don't think that's a wrong thing to say or think. I just think it would have been hard to explain in the time that we had to watch the movie. So not a bad idea though. Rusty Watch comes back and says, once she killed the sorcerer crawling away, I knew there would be no redemption for her. This is not collateral damage like in an Avengers movie. This is intentional murder of innocent people. Well, yeah, I mean, Wanda was completely corrupted by the Darkhold. Any sense of conscience she had was probably stripped away from her. She was pure rage. She just wanted to achieve her objective. And remember, what she wanted and what the Darkhold wanted were probably two very different things. The Darkhold probably wanted to sow all of this chaos. It was probably loving all this. The Darkhold, whatever power was contained in it, didn't give a shit about Wanda. It was just using her to create mayhem. And so, I mean, her soul was corrupted, absolutely. But yeah, she's a straight up murderer. But it wasn't her fault. I'm not absolving her of her responsibilities, but still, when Picard was turned into Locutus of Borg in the episode Best of Both Worlds, and the Battle of Wolf 359 happened, and 10,000 Starfleet personnel lost their lives, was it Captain Picard's fault that he was turned into Locutus? It's kind of the same thing. Wanda as a Borg. I don't know. Do you buy it? Are you sick of me talking about Star Trek no matter what the subject is? I probably would be. Holland Love says, what's next with Wanda if she's alive? She's beyond redemption now. Then again, if sorcerers forgive her, no one else in 616 knows what she did. Well, you bring up a really good point. I mean, and that's what I've been saying to everybody, is that this kind of is it is kind of inconsequential to the rest of the MCU. But the people that know what she did, they know she was corrupted by the Darkhold. She's got a lot to answer for, but it really wasn't necessarily her fault. And we have to forgive, don't we? Hall Love comes back and says, what's next with, I already said that. Hall Love says, I enjoyed it and loved the brutality. Hey, look, man, I think they had to go there. You know, when you have somebody who's that crazy, you got to go all the way. If you don't go all the way, then it loses its credibility somehow. But yeah, you got to go. You either go full on crazy, around the bend, nutso, or you don't. And I thought they had to go that way. She had to be a murderess, and I liked it. Anthony Fonseca sends in a super chat and says, by the way, love the show. Oh, pardon me. There's one or two. Sorry, Anthony. Anthony Fonseca sends in a super chat and says, took the movie as it is a Doctor Strange movie revolving around him. I love the horror of it. And as the title says, madness. Fans overhyped and expected way too much. The title says Doctor Strange, not Avengers. By the way, love the show. Thanks for all you do. Anthony, you bring up a good point. I mean, are we our own worst enemy? Are we our own worst enemy? We see these things. And even, look, I'm guilty of this. I'm like, I want to see all these cameos. I was convinced that Wanda was going to bring back all the mutants, you know, and there we go. Like, I was going back and reading comics like Avengers Disassembled. I was talking about it on the show. I overhyped myself. And, you know, I mean, usually if I'm doing something to myself, it's a little quieter and my imagination, is very focused. But in this case, my imagination was running rampant and I'm thinking, and I'm as guilty of it as the next person. But you know what? Marvel has put that expectation in my head and your head and all of our heads. So we speculate and we speculate. And what does John say? Expectation of speculation and expectation. It's a dangerous thing to do, but Marvel has given us that by what they've done in the past. And I think I've learned to sort of tamp down my expectations. So I'm just going to chill out from now on. I'm not going to go back and read comics. I'm going to take it slow. Take it slow. Miguel Zayan sends in a super chat and says, "Hey John, are you now more convinced that Krasinski is directing Fantastic Four and Blunt playing Sue? It's one of the reasons why he left Quiet Place. And what were the photos that you and Rob and Aaron saw?" First of all, Miguel, I'm not going to tell you what the photos are that we saw. And once whatever comes out where those photos were from, I'm sure we'll tell you what they were, but it ain't going to be today. Nice try, buddy. But let's see. I would say that can you show me that question again? Because, okay, Krasinski, that's right. Look, I don't know if John Krasinski is going to be Doctor Strange in a Doctor Strange movie. I would love it. I love Emily Blunt, and I love him, and I love they're married, and I love the idea that a real married couple would play Reed and Sue. I don't know if that's going to happen. It probably won't. But the idea that everybody fan casted Krasinski and they had him be Reed Richards, I thought was great. We got a sense, we got a taste of what he might be like. So, man, I thought they did a fine job. I really enjoyed it. So, yes, bring it on if it happens. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know. Eustace Pachalis sends in a super chat and says, "Is it time to reveal the content of that mystery picture from a while ago? I really hope not. Please be Cavill as Hercules in Thor 4. Cavill Crow again." Well, I can honestly tell you it's not that. It is not that. And if it were, I would lie anyway. So you never know. You never know. It might be that. Maybe I'm lying to you. I don't know. Can't tell you. Reamer Bulldog says, "The title of this movie should have been a different title because multiverse is really not the forefront. I was a little bit let down, but still thoroughly enjoyed the movie overall. For me, the good far outweigh any criticisms I may have. It's not perfect, but it's still a really good movie." Look, you know what? I completely agree with you. But here's what I find interesting. I think that all of us, we've now come to expect Infinity War and Endgame levels of satisfaction. And I don't see how we can get that. And all of these movies, they're different. They're trying something different. And, we're coming off of No Way Home, which was coming off of Eternals, very different kinds of movies. And so until I know more, I'm just going to take each one of these movies as they come from now on and enjoy them for what they are. I mean, these movies are 90% better than any of the other genre fare that's coming out. I mean, as I said, this was kind of a lesser MCU movie, but as a Doctor Strange movie, I loved it. I thought it was great. I couldn't have asked for anything more from this. And that's what it was. It was a self-contained Doctor Strange movie. And I didn't, they could, I think we got enough of the multiverse in this film. It would have become unruly and, quite frankly, a little weird. But maybe that's what it was supposed to be. Addison sends in a super chat and says, hashtag Wanda did nothing wrong. I think the F was supposed to be an R. Well, you know what? I think she was possessed, but it's not like she's goody two-shoes. She did all kinds of bad things. She killed people. She straight up murdered superheroes, even though they were from different multiverses. She killed them. She killed them in cold blood. For why? And so I think she did do something wrong, but there were mitigating circumstances. I mean, if she went to court, they wouldn't have arrested her for first-degree murder because she was possessed by the Darkhold. I don't know how you'd explain that in a court of law, but I think they would try. You'd bring in Matt Murdock to be your lawyer. He'd probably get her off. Maybe. Dwayne Fernandez sends in a super chat and says, do you think Ultron was created by Reed in Earth 838? If so, damn, I guess he was smarter than Tony since he created a working, good version of Ultron. Well, Dwayne, good question. I love Ultron. As a matter of fact, I thought in Age of Ultron we would get that panel from Avengers 22 where they break down the door and Thor is standing there saying, Ultron, we would have words with thee. I thought for sure they'd go there. They didn't. I was a little disappointed. But I love Ultron. And yeah, I mean, they had a working version of the Ultron robots. I mean, I'd like to believe that it was still Tony Stark and he's just not there because something bad happened to him. But that was his lasting legacy. He was able to make Ultron. He was able to wrap the world in a suit of armor like he wanted to, which I thought would have been pretty nice. And that's, in my mind, in my head canon, he was able to, in at least that part of the multiverse, figure his stuff out. So Ultron didn't go crazy and try and destroy the world. So Dwayne Fernandez comes back and says, I was confused about one thing. How does Strange know Mordo is evil? And when did Mordo want to kill Strange? Is there like a Doctor Strange 1.5? Well, I think at the end of Doctor Strange, it's fairly implied that he would know. And that's what I would think. And he probably is. Look, it's not like Doctor Strange hasn't heard about what's going on with Mordo since the end of Doctor Strange. There must be word, camouflage. They must know what's going on. You don't have somebody like Mordo just walk off into the sunset and not know what he's up to. So I think Strange would have known, would have heard, would have kept tabs on Mordo or something, at least kind of known. So that's kind of the way what I thought. That's how he would know, I think. Jokes sends in a super chat and says, John, as someone that never watched WandaVision, Wanda's villain turn felt super unnatural. I just couldn't get on board. Well, Jokes, you got to watch WandaVision. I mean, I understand. And if you hadn't and you weren't aware of what happened in Westview, totally makes sense that her villain turn would not make sense to you. But you got to go back. I mean, come on, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you got to keep up. You got to keep up. You can't miss staff meetings. So you got to see everything. And WandaVision's really interesting. It's really unique. And go back and check it out. I think you will like the movie more. Chase O says, thoughts on a Wong and Ned Disney Plus show? Dude, I love Wong. A Wong and Ned show. I mean, I think you'd have to bring Ned to Comertage and have him trained to be a wizard. But I would just like to see a Wong movie. I don't think they'd ever do that, but I love Wong. But I think a Wong and Ned series, maybe I could see that. A Padawan, kind of a master Padawan thing where Wong is teaching Ned how to use magic. That could be really cool. I would watch that. Like, why not? Jokes goes on to say, for the smartest people on the planet, especially Reed, they had the worst plan for dealing with Wanda. Fighting her one-on-one, really? Said the same thing, bro. You've got a group of people that are incredible fighters with all kinds of different powers. You got to attack her from all fronts. If she's that powerful, she's a Nexus being. And they said they knew about that, this one-on-one. That was the one thing. For me, that was the weakest part of the film. I'm like, guys, you got to have a plan. What's up, yo? You really do. And the fact that she was able to dispatch with them so easy proves that not a good plan. Not a good plan. Brad Timms sends in a super chat and says, a few weeks ago, you talked about seeing a leaked photo that turned out to not be in No Way Home. Was it a Reed Richards cameo or have we not seen it yet? Brad, we've not seen it yet. And it's nothing to do with Fantastic Four. I promise. Nothing. And I wouldn't tell you even if I knew. But I'm not lying about that. We haven't seen it yet. It's from something that hasn't come out yet. Tim Platt sends in a super chat and says, prediction. Now that she's no longer being corrupted by the Darkhold, Wanda is self-exiling herself and will have to be convinced to come back to deal with a threat greater than Thanos. Tim, I love that. I think that's a great way to go. Great idea. I could see that absolutely happening. I mean, that's such a quintessential comic book thing to do, such a character thing to do. I've done something wrong, and I'm exiling myself, so I'm not going to hurt anybody else. And we'll probably still find her in the same field she was tending, go to that world she creates for herself. She'll just be a lot harder to find. You won't see Doctor Strange being able to just walk in and find her. So I think that's a good, absolutely precisely exactly what's probably going to happen. You nailed it. Fangblaze71 sends in a super chat and says, there was literally no reason for Captain Carter to throw her shield when Doctor Strange first walked into the Illuminati room. Well, it was cool. He threw it because it was cool. I mean, why does anyone throw a shield? And I thought it was, but, you know, I just went with it. I thought it was kind of cool. I like Captain Carter. I wish she didn't go out so quickly. But, yeah, it was, I didn't mind it. Even though there's no reason. Sometimes people just throw their shields to look badass. Exton Crab says, the animated X-Men theme playing when Professor X appeared was the best. Exton Crab, I love that. As you know, I thought that maybe Wanda had created the universe and sent the X-Men as the animated characters, but I loved hearing that theme. You know, da-na-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na. Come on. That was awesome. Seeing Xavier in that chair, I was so down with that. And what a cool way to acknowledge, now we got X-Men, 97 coming. As many people know, Bryan Singer, when he made the first X-Men movie, had never seen or read the X-Men comics, but Tom DeSanto, his executive producer, got him into the X-Men through the early 90s animated series. That is a true story. Jinyu Hichi says, what a cool name, Jinyu Hichi. Give it up for those cameos. Anson coming back as Black Bolt. Didn't see that coming. Neither did I. I was like, is that really Anson Mount? I think that might have been the thing that most delighted me. Not because, shameless plug, the animated series I edited for Netflix, Dota Dragon's Blood, Anson Mount's character. And he's just a great guy. So it was, I couldn't believe, John and I speculated that there's no way that they would put Black Bolt as part of the Illuminati, even though he is in the books. And if they did, he was never going to be Anson Mount. Well, wrong on both counts. Kevin Feige was way ahead of us. I love that. I just wish he didn't die in that horrific manner. But it was chilling, but it was still cool to see him. Evelyn Evelyn Jakira, Quiroz, what a cool name, sends in a super chat and says, I love this movie, but for me, this is a Wanda movie, not a Strange one. Well, it is a strange movie, but I see what you're doing there. She is the main character and was a perfect villain. Olsen always shines. She does shine, man. She is great, and she gave it her all. And she was clearly having a ball chewing the scenery, and I was so there for it. I have a crush on her. I mean, I think she's a really versatile actress that doesn't get nearly enough credit. She was great in this movie. She was scary, and I mean, she's really got her hand movements down when she's floating around. She's looking mighty formidable. I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to run into her in a dark alley when she's possessed by the Darkhold, because it wouldn't go well, and I wouldn't be here to do this super chat, what I'm doing right now with you, because it'd be scary, and she'd probably splatter my brains all over a wall. It wouldn't be good. Alex Von Gollum sends in a super chat, one of two. Actually, so that means he sent in 2 super chats. I love how the film is a character study. How Stranges tend to be strategists and pragmatic in doing things for the greater good. But our doctor has developed empathy throughout the years, making him see that America should not die and be the one to defeat Wanda. Look, I agree. You know what? For all the mayhem in this movie, I thought they really allowed for time. Like, even the first 20 minutes is at such a breakneck pace, but then they slow down, and, you know, you get a sense of what happened during the blip, and that Doctor Strange has lost the love of his life. And I thought that the way, there was tremendous empathy in this film toward what happened to Wanda. And I love the way that it was played. I thought they did a wonderful job of doing that. And I think you're absolutely right. And that's what makes the movie better than most, I think. Scott Brown sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Scott. Things I didn't like. John Krasinski. Now that I've seen it, don't like it. Why not? I really liked him as Reed Richards, but that's okay. If you just saw it and didn't like it, there you go. Mordo as the bad would have been more interesting. We already went through this with Wanda in the show, and the Raiminess cheese factor didn't fit in the MCU. You know, Scott, I have to disagree with you there. The Raiminess cheese factor is kind of what made this film a lot of fun. We are in the multiverse of madness. I thought Raimi's style sort of added to the craziness of what was going on. And I think that's okay. I mean, I think it's okay to do something like that. But I mean, I can understand if Mordo was the villain, how would you have tied in getting into the multiverse? And I thought they did a really good job in WandaVision of setting Wanda up as that character and taking the story of her grief forward. That's great motivation for the villain. And, you know, we saw her floating in the sky, reading the Darkhold at the end of WandaVision, and to know that she was completely corrupted is something I thought I really liked. It really worked for me. But as John says, that's why movies are subjective experiences, and I can understand if they didn't work for you. I liked it, though. I did. Joe Alberico sends in a super chat and says, "Hey, John and the gang." That means I'm part of the gang. I like that. I was among the MCU fans hoping Krasinski would be cast as Reed Richards. And after seeing his appearance in Multiverse of Madness, my expectations were exceeded. Was he the right pick for you guys? Well, Joe, I would say yes. I loved him as Reed. I thought he was great. I thought he had the right amount of gravitas and empathy at the same time. He really had presence there. And look, you know, I got to tell you, I'm one of those people that I really believe that having Krasinski and his wife, Emily Blunt, having a real married couple playing Sue Storm and Reed Richards could be really great for the MCU. I would love that. I don't know if they're going to be. Probably not. You never know. But I thought at least seeing him in the movie, it gave you a taste of what could be, and at least we got that. So that was pretty interesting. I liked it. So I'm just like you. LJ sends in a super chat and says, watching today Doctor Strange in 3D IMAX. Well, LJ, you are a person after my own heart. Good for you, because I bet it looks great in 3D IMAX. Kudos to you, LJ. Great. Wait. There we go. Great experience. How many times will you watch Doctor Strange? Well, I want to go see it in the theater a couple more times. I was supposed to see it yesterday in 3D IMAX. Couldn't do that because I had work to do. But it must look incredible. Just the opening scene where they're trying to get the Book of Ashanti. I mean, boom, you're right into it. I'd love to see that in 3D. LJ, man, you probably had a great time. Obviously, it worked for you. Congratulations. I hope I get to experience that. I really do. Scott Brown sends in a super chat and says, I hated everything they did with Wanda, making her a crazy mom to ignoring everything she learned from the show to no vision in any of the verses, and now she's just dead, baby. It was so uninteresting. Well, Scott, I mean, I didn't feel that way. I love the idea that she's been corrupted by the Darkhold, and I mean, I can understand where you're coming from, but I did like it. And remember, you know, for me, I looked at this movie as Wanda was a friend in need, and we didn't really have any of the Avengers in WandaVision show up, and I thought I loved when we first saw Strange and Wanda together, and how he was asking for her help, not knowing really what was going on, and I liked that dynamic, and it kind of for me became a friend. I mean, I took it almost like addiction, a friend that goes down the road of drug addiction or something, and Strange, who's literally a doctor, was there to help her. And I liked that. I enjoyed it. But if it didn't work for you, I can totally understand that. It worked for me. I liked it, but I'm kind of a sucker for these kind of stories. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. LJ comes back and says, happy Sunday and happy Mother's Day to your mom. Love the show. Which Doctor Strange do you like more? You mean of the two movies? You know, I would say I still love the first movie a little bit more, only because you got to meet the character. I love to see Benedict Cumberbatch being he's like the surgeon from the movie Malice, who thinks, you know, he's basically God, this surgeon that he's an egomaniac, and what happens to him. But I will say this. I did enjoy Multiverse of Madness as kind of like this standalone horror movie. If it wasn't a Marvel movie and it was just it wasn't even a Doctor Strange movie, but it told the same story, I would have loved it. I would have loved it. And I still loved it. I like what Sam Raimi did. If it was, I mean, this could have been an Evil Dead movie and I would have liked it. I thought it was good. I really liked it. Molly Lanny says, what was the deal with nobody being impacted by Black Bolt why he was killing Strange and Wanda limping while having the ability to fix herself. Well, I mean, look, we're dealing with superpowers, and how they affect people is different, you know. But yeah, I mean, you could make that like when Black Bolt talks and everybody hears him, he's not just, I mean, maybe he has the ability to focus the sound right on Strange if that's what he wants to do, or Wanda, and no one else is affected by it. I just chalk that up to the physics of superheroics, are something that I don't entirely understand. But yeah, but you know, you're not wrong about that. Details matter. Anthony Garola sends in a super chat and says, hey, John, will you tell us now who the leaked mystery CGI character was that you and Rob saw, or is it still for another upcoming project? Well, Anthony, I got to say this. It is for an upcoming project, and no, I won't tell you. The only way you can get me to spill the beans is nothing. You can't. You can bribe me all you want, won't take your money. You will have to wait and see. But I'm sure we'll tell people, because people want to know. It's for something upcoming that I'm not going to say what it is. So, and I don't mean to be a douche. I'm just, you know. So those are doubled up there. So let's see what the next one is. TT. Well, TT, hey guys, do you feel fans, critics should be more or less lenient when critiquing MCU films? Multiverse of Madness should have been better, in my opinion, and I want Marvel held to a higher standard, but I can't argue with box office dollars. TT, that's an interesting question. Look, I think we already do hold the MCU to a higher standard. The problem is, I think the standard we're holding the MCU up to is a standard of perfection. I mean, as I've said before, like, I'm a huge James Bond fan. There's been 25 official James Bond movies. I don't know if I could even say half of them are good. And for me, I look at the MCU, the track record is great. You think about lesser Marvel, like Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Dark World, Thor the Dark World, and even Captain Marvel. Those are all pretty good movies. I mean, they haven't made a movie that, like, sucked. Some people might think, I loved Eternals. They're all really good. There's a lot of care put into them. But yeah, we should hold every movie to a higher standard, not just the MCU. Great stories, well told. There's a lot of great craft that goes into these movies. There's a lot of engineering that's happening story-wise. I think these movies, what they're trying to do is unprecedented in Hollywood history. But that's not to say I don't give them a pass. I'm not a Marvel shill. If you make a movie that I don't like very much, I will say so. But so far, I've enjoyed all of the Marvel movies to varying degrees. Do I think Captain Marvel is as good as Winter Soldier, or specifically Infinity War and Endgame? Certainly not. Do I even love Captain Marvel as a movie unto itself? No, I thought it was okay. I enjoyed it. It wasn't great, but I enjoyed it. And that's all I'm looking for a movie. But the fact that there's 28 Marvel movies, that's a pretty good track record. Pretty good track record. Louis Colon send in a super chat and says, one of two. Overall, I liked the movie, but I think the cameos were kind of a waste. Maybe it's our own fault, like you always say, with expectation. But everyone expected more crazy multiverse cameos. They basically show every single one in the trailers, so it felt like there were no big surprises. Well, here's the thing. I mean, the cameos to me were like icing on a cake. They really didn't have, it was cool to see them. It was cool to establish the Illuminati. It was cool to establish the multiverse. But for me, I would like to have seen all those characters play a much larger role in defeating Wanda that went to the end of the movie. It was probably because a lot of those actors were day players and they weren't there for very long, so they could only shoot for a little bit of time. But like you, I would like to have seen more. I didn't feel that they were a waste because I still had a good time with it all, but I would like to have seen all those people used more and used more, be cohesive as a team, because they kind of weren't that. They were dispatched with fairly quickly. I would have liked to have seen, like you, more made of that. So you're absolutely right. Danny Price sends in a super chat and says, how would you feel off the back of this film if they announced Sam Raimi is returning to direct a sequel, or other MCU projects. Oh, I'd feel great about it. I mean, I think one of the great things about this movie is that it was breakneck. The pace of it was breakneck. It was so much fun to watch. I loved it. I mean, I loved watching it. I thought it was so much fun to watch. But they would have to give him the right material. They'd have to have his sort of gonzo throwback style of filmmaking, it has to have the right fit. And so I don't know what that would be, but I would definitely like to see it. I mean, even though they're probably not going to make another one, I could see him doing an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. You never know. But I would definitely see Raimi come back for sure. Thanks for that. Lewis is back again. Louis Colon says, will people still be excited for Krasinski reprising in the Fantastic Four movie after we've already seen him die? Or do you think it'll be someone else? Well, Louis, is it Louis? Louis? I don't know if it's going to be him or not, but why not? We liked him. I liked him. And if they bring him back to establish Reed Richards, I mean, the Fantastic Four is such a cornerstone of the Marvel comic universe. I'm sure they're going to be a cornerstone of the Marvel cinematic universe. So I think people, Louis, I think people would be there for it. I would be there for it. I would say bring it on. I'd love to see it happen. I don't know if it will, but I'd still love to see it happen. Louis goes on to say, I love the show and shout out to all the people like me that listen in the workplace. Customer service ain't easy. Well, I'm glad you love the show. I've got right here with me fact checker Jonathan, who's now producing the show. So he's now producer Jonathan. We've been through this before. Right, Jonathan? Watch, flick back to a question. Look, see, Jonathan just produced that edit. Amazing. But, and then there's, of course, Ray Ora, who's got his headphones on, probably wasn't hearing anything I've said because I've gotten not one laugh from him during this entire show. There's a laugh. There you go. He's listening too. So I'm glad. I think, to hear you guys watch this show at work, just it tickles my black heart. So thank you for that. Everybody at the John Campea Show, we work very hard to produce good programming, good content that you can't wait for. So thank you for the compliment from all of us. I appreciate it. Brian Whitney sends in a $100 super chat. Wow, Brian, thank you so much. You, my friend, you're our sugar daddy. What can I say? I want to thank you. I want to thank you for that. You've been so generous supporting the channel. It is very much appreciated here, and it's very nice. Brian, and this is, I guess you've just been sending us great super chats, but without questions, so you finally have a question. So Brian, well, I have a question finally. Brian, I can't wait to hear this. What did you think of Black Bolt? I thought he was awesome for the little time we saw him. Do you think he will come back in any of the movies? Big time fan and supporter. You are a big time. You're a baller supporter. So thank you for that. Bring on the filthy. Well, Brian, I have to tell you, I really like Black Bolt. I'm an Inhumans fan, and I couldn't believe, like I said, that they brought back Anson Mount playing Black Bolt. And I mean, he got to kill Strange, so we got to see his powers. And then what happened to him? I'm not going to lie. It was a bummer. I didn't like seeing it happen. He blew his own head out. And although it bummed me out that he died, I did like seeing that because that was, I mean, if you have to kill Black Bolt, that was a creative way to do it. And the whole audience was like, oh, which I thought was pretty awesome. So, Brian, yes, sir. I love Black Bolt. I think, look, they had planned to make an Inhumans movie. I don't know if they're going to make an Inhumans movie. I would never have thought that they would have. I never would thought we would have seen Black Bolt, much less played by Anson Mount in this movie. And since we have, dude, truly, Brian, truly a multiverse of madness, you never know where you're going to be. And I would love to see Black Bolt come back, hopefully played by Anson Mount because he's awesome. And again, thank you for the tremendous support. Fifi sends in a super chat and says, I think the only thing I didn't like was how fast certain Illuminati members were killed so quickly. If they had a slightly longer fight, I think it would have felt more natural. Fifi, you and me both. Fifi, they went out so quickly. I mean, these guys are some of the most formidable characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the comic universe, certainly, and they all went out pretty quickly. And I was kind of bummed out about that. I'm not going to lie. Definitely was kind of bummed out about that. I agree with you 100%. I wanted to see a whole coordinated battle, like a superhero battle like you would have seen in a comic book where there's coordinated attacks, and despite the fact that they're pooling their resources, Wanda was too much for them. I would like to have seen a lot more there. I was kind of disappointed we didn't get that. Bum me out. Donut Head. How does that work for you? Donut Head. Raimi loves having villains kill themselves. Both Osborns, Doc Ock, Venom, Wanda. Fascinating. Yeah, because, if the heroes kill the villains, then the heroes are suspect. But yeah, now that you've illuminated this in your question, I didn't really think of that before. That's interesting. I wonder what pathology. I think it would have something to do with the fact that, if one of these superheroes killed a villain, then it'd be like people still bitching about Man of Steel, like Superman killed Zod. You can't have these heroes kill people. Maybe it has something to do with that. But it's an interesting observation that you've made. I never thought about that. So kudos there. Ryan Padilla sends in a super chat and says, I just watched Doctor Strange for the 3rd time, and I'm loving it more and more. Just because some stumbles and falls doesn't mean they're lost forever. Well, Ryan, first of all, I'm glad. I would imagine this movie, there's a lot of joy to find in this film, and the more you watch it, I think the more you would like it, because it is a damn fun movie. It's sort of an outlier as far as the MCU is concerned, Ryan. So the fact that you like it, and it gets better and better for you, that's what we want from our movies. So I'm glad you feel that way. I kind of feel that way too. So, yeah, I believe you. I'm with you. Fifi comes back and says, I think the thing that made Wanda impossible to redeem for me was the line she said to Reed Richards about his kids. Ooh, yeah, I mean, but you remember, she is possessed by the power of the Darkhold. So as evil as she's going to be, it's not her fault. I mean, maybe you could say that maybe her soul made her easily corruptible, but it was the dark forces of the Darkhold working on her. She didn't, and yes, maybe her selfishness in wanting to have kids led her down that path, or maybe made her more susceptible to what the Darkhold was doing to her. But still, it was an external force. And it, like I said, you could look at it as a metaphor for drug addiction. I mean, people who've been addicted to drugs will steal from their own family members and turn into real, bad people. But that doesn't mean you give up on them. And I think that we have to remember that. So Ryan Padilla comes back again and says, we do see Wanda messing with the Darkhold again at the end of WandaVision, and that's how she got corrupted to the point we see her now. Right, but remember, we find out the Darkholds are copies, and that the original is in the Darkhold building, which she destroys. So I think that the insinuation is that the Darkhold is gone, and I guess all the copies would have been burned up. So hopefully she will be able to be redeemed. At least I would hope so at some point, because I like Wanda, but in the comics she stays nuts for a very long time. Maybe it'll lead to House of M. I don't know. Sid Dro. Oh, wait a minute. Is that Ryan? Is that okay? Okay, here. This is from Sidro, 1 of 4. Sidro. Hey, John, first-time tipper, long-time loyal viewer. Well, Sid, welcome to the party, pal. I noticed in Doctor Strange 2 that reminds me of Sam's Spider-Man 2. The ending that shows Wanda sacrificing herself and destroying the tower reminds me of Spider-Man 2's ending with Doc Ock coming to his senses, destroying his machine, and sacrificing himself. Thoughts on that decision? Also, I really enjoyed Doctor Strange 2 a lot, and I expect Wanda to be back. That red flash as things were collapsing could have been her teleporting out or protecting herself. Thoughts, and bring on the filthy. Well, Sidro, for somebody who just did your first super chat, that was an epic style, epic fashion. Thank you for that kind of support. Look, I agree with you. I really like Doctor Strange 2. I think that her sacrifice, she knew what she'd done, and in order to redeem herself, like many Raimi villains have. I mean, the idea that a villain finding their own redemption, I like that idea. I think that's cool, rather than just being vanquished by the heroes. So I think that Sam Raimi clearly does as well. But I really do like the sacrifice that she made, that she took it upon herself to destroy the Darkhold. Because I like Wanda very much as a character, but I completely agree with you. And I do think it's a Raimi trope, but I'm okay with that. you know, it makes sense if that's what he wants to do. You know, many directors like Hitchcock cover the same trajectory or same territory over and over again in different ways in their movies. So I certainly don't have a problem with that. So very excited about the end of the movie, and I think Wanda will definitely come back. And I like seeing that flash of red just like you did. And by the way, thanks for supporting the channel. I hope your first time was good for you. Actor Friend 90 sends in a super chat and says, Ho, is Christine still alive in our Doctor Strange universe? She died in Doctor Strange 1. Good question, Actor Friend. Did she die? I guess maybe she did. I would imagine she is, because he was going to her wedding in our universe. So I think Christine is in fact alive. That's what I would think. I mean, I think so. Calvin Patel says, how bad y'all think Kevin Feige wanted to do that to Black Bolt because of the Inhuman show? Ha ha ha. Well, Calvin, the thing is, the fact that Kevin Feige brought back Anson Mount as Black Bolt at all, I think he did it for the exact opposite reason. He's like, you know what? If I was allowed to do my version of Eternals, or pardon me, of Inhumans, don't come at me. I think Kevin Feige redeemed all of that horrible Inhumans show with that appearance, even by casting Anson Mount. He didn't have to do that, but he did it anyway. I think that was him reclaiming the characters. I don't know if it means there's going to be an Inhumans movie, but who knows? Maybe there would be. I don't know. Justin Sage sends in a super chat and says, I was hyped seeing Krasinski as Reed Richards. However, after 2 screenings, I'm not so sold on him being Reed. Lacked the personality and qualities. Well, come on, man. I mean, he's a great actor. I love him as Jack Ryan. I think you need to see more of him. He wasn't given a whole lot to do. He wasn't allowed to be scientific Reed Richards and using his analytical mind, and he didn't have a chance to establish the character. So I would hold off on that kind of an opinion. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from. We just didn't see enough of him to know whether or not, and obviously the Reed Richards he'd be playing in the MCU would be, well, not in the multiverse, would be different. And I think Krasinski could absolutely pull it off, 100%. Ryder sends in a super chat, almost $20. Thank you. Krasinski came across as a little wooden to me, although that may have just been the dialogue. I really like him as an actor-director, though. Do you think he's Reed moving forward, or just there to fulfill the fan cast once? Look, I think that the fan cast obviously probably got him there. I have no idea whether he's going to play Reed Richards in the general MCU. But if he did, I think it would be great. Or they could go a totally different route. I could see them doing that as well. And then we already got our taste of Krasinski. But to judge him on so few lines, and he wasn't actually getting to be, I mean, he was Reed Richards, but we're not seeing him in context of the Reed Richards we know. Like, and I thought he did an okay job. I mean, I would, if they went with him for the show, I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay if they cast him. I don't know if they will, but if he's our Reed Richards, why not? Could be good. Danito says 838 Franklin Richards Revenge Quest would be epic. Well, as you know what? The problem with that is they'd have to introduce who Franklin Richards is. We don't know who he is, and you could obviously introduce him, but I love Franklin Richards, obviously a very powerful individual, could go up against Wanda, but you know, I kind of want to see Wanda get redeemed, but a Franklin Richards revenge story, I would be there for that. But again, that would be another multiverse movie, and it would sort of take us out of our regular MCU. But if they did, I love Franklin Richards. Hell, I want to see Franklin Richards introduced in a Power Pack movie. When are they going to make a Power Pack movie? That's what I want to see. I want to see a Power Pack movie, and then bring Franklin Richards in that. Sean Stewart sends in an almost $20 super chat. Thank you, Sean. Good for you. Thank you so much. I still liked it, but toward the bottom of the MCU movies for me. Strange this came out on Mother's Day weekend. I didn't like any of the Illuminati scenes. They came off as judgmental dicks, and their deaths meant nothing. You know what, Sean? I think you're not wrong. I mean, it was quick, and I felt like the Illuminati was there to die. And I would like to have seen more reasoning behind it, more strategy behind it. I thought that was thinly written and more like a TV show. So I'm not going to lie, I kind of felt like you did. But it didn't bother me that much, if that makes any sense. But as I said, you're not wrong. By the way, thanks for supporting the show. Callum Illig says, do you think John Krasinski will be Reed Richards moving forward, or was this more of a fun cameo than anything? Personally, I hope to see more of him. Look, I liked him. I liked him as Reed. I would like to see him as Reed moving forward, because why not? But do I think he's actually going to be Reed? I suspect that maybe this is the only time we're going to see Krasinski as Reed Richards. I'd like to see him come back. I would, but I just think that maybe this isn't the time. But then again, what do I know? Maybe it is. Hard to say. Stray Wolf sent in a super chat and says, how long does Wanda need to take America's powers out? She had her for a long time before Zombie Strange showed up and still didn't do it. Well, it's a comic book movie. I don't know. I don't know the actual physics behind it, but clearly she didn't have enough time. They probably had to draw it out. It's probably complex to try and get that power. That's all I can figure out. I mean, and she doesn't quite know how to get it. How do you steal, I guess, a mutant power out of somebody? Like, does it detach from their DNA? Like, how does it work? So maybe she has to do it individually. I don't know. But it did seem to take a long time. It didn't bother me, though. Danito goes on to say, on that, I really want to explore more of Earth 838, especially in the aftermath of the Illuminati's death. Maybe a new group forms to avenge them. Yeah, I mean, look, here's my problem. Exploring the world of 838 means you're moved away from our MCU. I mean, I could see them doing a show, a multiverse show, where they just explore different versions of the Earth and different versions of these characters. I think that would be badass. I would love to see that. But then it gets so complex. It's like, where are you this week? And who's alive and who's dead? And I think it could get very confusing very fast. But it's a cool idea. I'd watch. Michael Hamilton sent in a $10 super chat. Over or under 50%, we see John Krasinski as Reed Richards on Earth 616, since he's the Earth 838 variant. Also, the mirror dimension scene gave me The Ring vibes. Well, Michael, very astute. We're either going to see Krasinski in a Fantastic Four movie or we're not. I would tend to think no. I mean, if they did, it'd be great. But I think that we might have got this fan casting, and that's all we're going to see. I loved it, but Michael, who knows? Who knows? It's tough to say. Michael Hamilton goes on to say, with all the violence in the back half of the film, how did this manage to get a PG-13 rating? I mean, Black Bolt was probably the most gruesome death. Well, here's the thing you got to understand about the ratings board. This was all fantasy violence. It isn't set in the real world. If you see somebody and you're watching a movie and it takes place here today, now, in our world, and somebody gets assaulted or some kind of violent behavior happens to a quote-unquote non-fantasy character or a normal human being, then the ratings board rates it higher. You get an R rating because the violence is more extreme and it doesn't have a fantasy context to it. But when Reed Richards is getting peeled apart like spaghetti and torn asunder, it looks goofy. It has a fantasy quality to it, so they don't take it as seriously because it's not going to damage children the way if you saw like a serial killer rape and murder somebody and they did it realistically. I mean, that's a very different thing. So it's tonal, and it's also intent, and the fact that this was clearly fantasy violence. I mean, no matter how powered up by the Darkhold you are, it's still going to be a little hard to turn Reed Richards into spaghetti. That would never happen in real life, so they will give you a PG-13 rating instead of an R. So that's a great question, though. Good question. Danito is back. Anson Mount is underrated. Nailed it with subtlety. I agree. I thought Anson Mount was great bringing him back as Black Bolt. He's obviously Captain Christopher Pike now on Strange New Worlds. He's a very charismatic actor. I really like him. I think he looks the part, and especially on Star Trek. So I liked Anson Mount. I thought his Black Bolt was great. I'm glad he got to come back and fix it. I thought that was really, really, really cool. Colorado Yeti sends in a $20 super chat. Colorado Yeti, thank you. Do you have to live in Colorado? Because there's a lot of snow there. You can't live anywhere else. You only live in a snowy environment. Well, I don't know, but I'm glad you're there. Personally, I wanted to see Charlize Theron as Captain Marvel, but I'll take my future ex-wife as Clea. You know what? So will I. Charlize Theron's one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. I would take her any way I can get her, and if Benedict Cumberbatch gets to marry her, well, not in real life, Stephen Strange gets to marry her like in the comics, showing good job if they survive that confrontation with Dormammu, which is what they look like they're going off to fight. I don't know. Maybe that's what bonds them and gets them married. But yeah, you're not wrong. Love her. Reese Jones said, I was a little confused when Strange referenced the events of No Way Home. So do people still remember Spider-Man and just not his identity? That is what I understand. So, Reese, I think that people remember that Spider-Man exists. He's a superhero. He's a masked superhero, but no one remembers who is under that mask. They don't remember Peter Parker. So Spider-Man, yes. Peter Parker, no. And that's definitely where we are at. And I know it's kind of confusing. I mean, Spider-Man in his suit, I fought next to him. I know that. I just don't know. I don't know who's under that cowl. I've never seen him. I've never talked to him. They just don't know. So I think that's where you were at. So, yeah, Reese, pretty good. Oh, Brad TV, I guess I missed that. Where's White Vision? At a bar? Like, I don't know. Where is White Vision? It was kind of strange not to see White Vision at all. I don't know where he is. I was surprised that he didn't show up and play some kind of role in pacifying Wanda. I thought that would have been great. I thought that would have been a great emotional beat to set up and pay off at the end, but we didn't get that. I thought that was a little strange. Get it? But not strange enough, apparently. I don't know where White Vision is. I'd love to know where we're at because it was interesting to see what they did with him in the final episode of WandaVision, but I was surprised. But then again, how could you fit him into the story? I don't think even Doctor Strange could have. So, but I didn't mind that he wasn't there. It was surprising to me that he wasn't, though. Dacky Woods sends in a super chat and says, one thing I think Sam did well is that it actually looked like New York City and not just a set or Atlanta, doubling for New York City. Overall, I liked it, but I wasn't blown away, but not disappointed. I hope Raimi returns. Yeah, I thought the opening, I love the opening. It looked like it did take place in the streets of New York. I mean, I know it was on a backlot in Atlanta, but I think they've got that down. I like it when the Marvel films feel a little bit more grounded. That's why I like that they were actually in Budapest shooting Moon Knight. They shot Eternals in Europe. I mean, you can tell the difference. It does matter. So I'm with you. Jake Lockley. Jake, you just killed Ethan Hawke. How does it feel? Jake Lockley sends in a super chat and says, so if dreams are visions of other realities, it's pretty cool that Tony dreamt a reality where he had a kid at the beginning of Infinity War. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Jake, first of all, good name. But yeah, I think that was hopeful. I enjoyed that as well. I thought that was really, really something good, a nice touch. I'd like to believe that in my dreams I travel. I have really wacky dreams, and if I travel to visit my other self in a multi-dimensional world, at least I dream big. So yeah, I like that idea. I thought it was good. Devin Pangrikar says, Krasinski was the only one who got a cheer in my theater. Well, I can understand that because people know who he is. I mean, Reed, he's wearing that suit. People knew. But I understand why he was the only one to get the cheer. I mean, he deserves to get a cheer. He's a great actor. Like, why not? But yeah, I can understand why. Jasmine Jones sends in a super chat and says, I enjoyed the movie. Wouldn't say it's my favorite MCU movie. Also, do you think so far in the MCU fans have been expecting way too much since WandaVision with theories, cameos, and expectations? I think you nailed it. I think we've now been trained. And by the way, the marketing staff is leaning into the fact that all we do is speculate online. I think you're exactly right. I think after WandaVision, I think the speculation was rampant, and it should have been. I mean, my God, we were coming up with great ways we thought it could all go, but the problem is we're overthinking it. We're outthinking Marvel. I think we need to bring it back and understand what they're doing is simplicity. They're not trying to make something too off the wall. And I think that this is our problem. I think fans, that speculation versus expectation thing and what's going on, I think it's becoming a problem. And I think that we as fans are outthinking ourselves. We're not allowing ourselves just to enjoy what's there and lean back and say, okay, give me what you got and enjoy it for its own sake. I mean, by the time this movie rolls around, in my head, there's so much stuff that's going to happen in this movie. There's no way it could satisfy me without me just thinking, have a twinge of disappointment that I didn't get everything that I wanted. Devin Pangrekar says, also, I can't wait for Secret Wars. Well, it seems like that's where they're going. Devin, they seem to be going for Secret Wars. Like, I don't know. They haven't announced that yet. Kevin Feige was talking like there was never going to be any more Avengers movies, but that doesn't make any sense at all. I'm sure there will be, and I would love to see Avengers Secret Wars. I kind of think that's what's going to happen, won't it? I think so. We shall see. Adam Henson said, the entire time I'm thinking, where is White Vision during this? Well, apparently, as you've listened, you're not the only one. I just don't buy, is it buy? I just don't butt that Vision who is alive and has memories would not see Wanda and let her think he's dead, show up to comfort and maybe snap her out of it. I think what you're saying, Adam, is I was expecting White Vision too. How can they not use White Vision? I don't know. I don't know why they didn't use White Vision. I thought that was a mistake, that he, like you just said, he's the one that maybe heals Wanda. I don't know why they didn't go that direction. I don't know why they didn't fit him in. I did miss a Vision in there, especially because in a Wanda story, you kind of have to have Vision. And she name checks him when Strange goes to first meet her. So I thought it was odd. Jasmine Jones says, apart and what I mean so far in the MCU, I mean with Phase 4 with their theories and high expectations. I'm so happy that I didn't see the Illuminati scene beforehand because it was interesting to see. Look, I agree with you. I think that I think there's such a thing as overhype, and we're all overhyped for Marvel, and they feed into it, all of our speculation and talking, and I'm guilty of it too. I just think that we need to chill out and let Marvel do what they want to do. Let Marvel make the movies they want to make, and we should put our trust into what they're going to do and support it until such time as you don't want to. I'm not a spoiler guy. I don't necessarily like spoilers. John Barnett says, love the show. Who is the extra seat for in the Illuminati scene? Was that for their version of Doctor Strange or someone else? Thanks again. Love the show. I learned a lot from you guys. In my mind, I was thinking it was Black Panther. That's why not, that Black Panther would be there, or maybe it's a seat for Doctor Strange. But I felt it was for Black Panther, and Doctor Strange in that universe was killed. So maybe it's an honorary seat. Your guess is as good as mine. John Bennett says, well, first of all, $20 super chat. Thank you. Oh, I already answered that question. So, John, thank you anyway, because you're a good guy. Thanks for supporting the show. Jay Master sends in a super chat and says, hey, John, I watched Doctor Strange 2 at Cinemark in 3D today at 11:15 a.m. here in Seattle, my hometown. The experience was really awesome, and I love the movie. 10 out of 10 for me. People were cheering as the movie progresses. Well, Jay, I'd love to hear from you about how good you thought the 3D was. That's great to hear. Coming from Seattle, the Seattle audiences, we all grew up big sci-fi, fantasy, and horror fans, and Seattle audiences seeing sci-fi, fantasy, and horror movies were always great audiences. So it's nice to know that after having left my hometown 33 years ago, that you still have great movie-going audiences. I really appreciate that. So I'm glad you dug it. I'm glad you had a great experience. Adam Henson says, a credit scene of Vision digging Wanda out of the rubble would have been better. That's not a bad idea. I would love to have seen that. And she opens her eyes. That actually would be really satisfying. I love this idea. It's too bad it's not real, because I wish it were, but you're absolutely right. What a great idea. I enjoy that idea immensely. I think it's great. Fangblaze71 sends in another super chat and says, guess Wanda didn't care about Vision anymore, never mentioning wanting to see him again, only the kids. Yeah, I mean, that was a little weird. But again, I chalk it up to her being possessed by the Darkhold. We don't know what's going on in that mind of hers. So I'm not trying to make excuses for her, but that's where we seem to be at. It was the Darkhold, man. It was the Darkhold, baby. Blame the Darkhold. The John Krasinski thing now has Marvel. Oh, wait. That's from Ryan Lohner. Ryan Lohner says, the John Krasinski thing now has Marvel shouting like Barry Levinson in High Anxiety. Happy now? Happy now? Probably. I think probably so. That's a nice reference. Well done. Well done. Ryan Lohner sent in another super chat, I guess, but no. Oh, it's just the same one. See, I'm reading it again. Well, Ryan, thanks. You're always a great supporter. The more we read your name, the better off we are anyway. So there you go. Max Watch sends in a super chat and says, I loved how powerful they treated Wanda. Was so badass seeing the entire wizard army all against one badass witch in the sky. Dude, I loved that Battle of Kamar-Taj. I am so there with you. You know, it was like what the Long Night was going to be in Game of Thrones, man, except instead of the White Walkers, it was one chick hanging in the sky. I thought that battle was awesome. They might as well have been at sea. I loved it. I thought it was terrific. I'm glad that you and I park our shuttlecrafts in the same shuttle bay because that is awesome. Legan Alvarado sends in a super chat. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate the support. Toshi Victor says, my expectations were lowered by the reviews, so I wasn't expecting anything too crazy and was thoroughly surprised by how much I dug Raimi's style. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was strongly reviewed, but Sam Raimi went to town on this. And as I said, if you don't know a lot about Sam Raimi, you've got his Evil Dead work. Go watch Drag Me to Hell. Watch A Simple Plan, which I love. And watch The Quick and the Dead, which is a great Western that'll tell you all you need to know about Sam Raimi. But I agree. He is amazing and a great director. So Toshi Victor, thank you for that. Ronan, 1 of 6. All right, here we go. Just seen Doctor Strange 2. Like you say, film is subjective, but there are YouTubers who do not like this film because Christine marries a black guy. America and her mother are gay Spanish-speaking aliens, as if English-speaking aliens is okay. The males lasted longer than the females during the Illuminati. I think we have to go up further. For the fight and complained and said Feige production at the end of the movie. Where were they during the last 34 movies where Feige had direct guidance? Which is part of the formula that makes these movies successful and the reason why the MCU exists. I do not mean to vent on your platform, but I figured MCU fans were better than this, honestly, and not going to be politically dissecting comic book movies. Everyone has a right to love or hate. The movie, that's fine, but at least rate it on its substance. Well, Ronan, look, I mean, I grew up in a world where I was a Star Trek fan, so Spock's parents was an interspecies marriage, not just an interracial marriage. I mean, Spock's mom was stooping a Vulcan who's not from the planet Earth, and that's a little wacky. I mean, the fact that we still have anybody who's commenting on interracial marriages in this day and age, it's kind of wacky, but why wouldn't she? I have no problem with that. I have interracial friends, and I have no problem with it at all. But it's unfortunate that friends or people that you know or people that you follow or anybody on Twitter is making a comment about that. I like that. I mean, that's the world we live in. If you travel, I've traveled quite a bit around the world. There's people of all shapes, sizes, and colors and creeds that get together. So it's unfortunately fans, we're not known. We don't have the reputation of being the most self-actualized individuals in the world. I mean, look at me. I'm just basically an overgrown infant that goes, wah, 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 whenever I talk about modern Star Trek. So I'm guilty of it too. Abraham Ruiz says, probably already been said, but man, when Reed said he had 2 kids, I had a nerdgasm, laugh out loud. Little kid making a universe somewhere. I know, man, right? Franklin Richards, he's out there. What a scary kid. I mean, he can create his own universes. What else can he do? I don't know, but he's out there. He's out there in the multiverse. I just hope we would see that Reed and Sue from our universe would have their own Franklin and play that story from there, at least. Because otherwise, I don't want characters to come from the multiverse to be our first exposure to them here in our universe. That's the one thing I worry about. Well, it's the multiverse version of this character, because if it is, then that character, if they die, it doesn't matter. We've got our version to fall back on. So I don't like that. Legan Alvarado comes back and says, do you feel like the main MCU universe is going to have to deal with the consequences Wanda caused in the 838 universe? She killed a lot of important people. Dude, Legan, I am right there with you. I think that the MCU right now is going in all of these directions at once, and I think they need to tighten it back down and tell us what is happening, what's going on with all of these different places. Do people just show up and now, oh, there's a multiverse? I think they really need to tamp down on what's going on and explain it to us. Tell us what's happening, because it's a pretty wacky place to be in the 616 universe. I mean, who's doing what to whom? Who's in control of what? I don't know. It's crazy, and I don't like not knowing. I like to be able to explain this stuff. I don't know that Kevin Feige knows either, and that's a problem. Toshi Victor comes back and says, was I the only one thinking about the tentacle hentai? About tentacle hentai when Chavez was under the beast? Laugh out loud. Thanks for getting the community together. Well, Toshi Victor, I don't think you cannot think about hentai with a giant, tentacled monster and a teenage girl. What can I say? I mean, if you think that, you're probably not wrong. I mean, I remember watching things like The Wandering Kid, which Yoratsuki Doji. I thought that was pretty good. But I find the whole hentai thing a little odd, to be honest. There's a series called Bible Black that I've watched that is just out of control. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I can look at tentacled monsters and not think hentai. I just don't like myself for thinking that. I feel dirty and unclean and like a dirty old man, to be honest. But, I still watch hentai anime when it crosses my desk, maybe. But yeah, I mean, not just hentai, but it's a cool monster with a giant eye, and it gets its eye plucked out. I loved all that. And plus, I thought that there was real jeopardy in that scene. I liked it. I thought it was a great scene. Anthony C. says, okay, so what I really liked about the film was it was very grounded and pragmatic, as opposed to having to save all reality. At its core, it truly was just about Strange trying to protect a child. Totally agree. I totally agree, and I really liked it for that. It was a fairly simple story wrapped in a complex bow, and I really did think that was great for the film, and I did in fact love that. Really did. Bob Constructeur sends in a super chat and says, this movie was great. I'm going to see it again soon. You should go see it in 3D IMAX if you haven't already, and report back. I'm glad you liked it. It's good to have things that you liked. I did too. I liked it too. Jasmine Jones says, I can't wait to see what happens with America Chavez in the future. Well, she's studying to be a wizard. I'm sure we're going to see more of her. If they really are building a young Avengers team, I think she'll be on it. I mean, we've already got Kate Bishop. Wanda, if she ever gets her kids sorted, they'll probably be in Young Avengers. Who knows? But yeah, I liked America Chavez a lot. I really like that character. So I'm with you. Drew W. says, it's really hard for me to feel sorry for Wanda anymore after what she did. She's awesome as a villain, though. Drew, I'm with you. I am with you. But remember, she was corrupted. She was corrupted by an external force. That's not necessarily an excuse, but I think they're going to bring her back, and they're going to use this, obviously, to create more stories. But, it wasn't her fault. Poor little Wanda. She didn't mean to. Ahmed E. Ahmed says, hoping they keep John as Mr. Fantastic. Loved him. Ahmed E. I'm with you, Ahmed E. I loved him. I don't know if they will. Maybe this was Krasinski's way of getting out of being Reed. I don't know. I have no clue. But I loved him too. I thought he's a fine Reed Richards. Why not keep him? Jamie Rodriguez says, so do we think Wanda is really dead? No. I don't know what I'll do with myself if she is. Don't worry, she's not. What MCU projects do you think she could show up in the future? Well, it's hard to say. I mean, she could show up in a lot of them. I don't think she's going to be in Wakanda forever, although they might send her back there. She might go to Wakanda to recuperate. And I don't think she's going to be in Love and Thunder. So I really don't know where she's going to show up next. I'd like to see her show up in an X-Men movie, to be honest, but it's not in the books, so who knows. But I did love her. I did love her. Ahmed E sends, seeing Haley Atwell suited up gave me the chills. Well, Ahmed E, I loved seeing her as well. I love Haley Atwell. I love Captain Carter. And she was awesome seeing her all suited up. So, Ahmed E, I'm with you. It was awesome. It was, I mean, that's all I can say. It was awesome, just like you said. It was awesome. Ryan Lohner says, I can't believe they cut all of Tom Cruise's scenes, those cowards. Well, Ryan, it'll just go into the great unproven rumor mill. I mean, I don't think that they would cut Tom Cruise out if they filmed his scenes. I haven't read that they did that. Maybe you know more than I do, but I can't believe they would cut Tom Cruise out of this movie and keep Anson Mount as Black Bolt. Why would you do that? Who knows? Don't know. Thank you for that, Ryan. Bobby Brake sends in a super chat and says, in X-Men Days of Future Past, Professor X says, just because someone stumbles and loses their way doesn't mean they're lost forever. Loved they use their line in this. Yeah, because it's direct reference to his character, and it's totally pertinent to what the task at hand is. So indeed, I did, in fact, I love that. I thought it was great, and it's a great line of dialogue too. So I'm glad you liked it. Connor Thorne says, is the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, important to Earth 838 or only to Earth 616? If so, wouldn't the TVA be the biggest threat to the multiverse from the Illuminati's perspective? Connor, that frustrated me to no end. You would think that they would explain between the Time Variance Authority and the multiverse. Are they different things? And if so, why? How does it work? You right then and there, you were saying exactly what I wanted to know. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I honestly don't know what to tell you. I would think so. I would think the TVA would be the most dangerous thing in the world to the multiverse. Or maybe not. I just don't know. But it would seem to me, and this is again one of my problems with Phase 4, the Time Variance Authority and the Celestials and all that. They're way out there, the Egyptian gods and Moon Knight. And what does it mean to us? Like, not just our heroes, but the man on the street. What's going on? I don't know. The cosmology of the Marvel Universe needs to be figured out, because it just seems like we regular human beings are going about their business on Earth, and then suddenly a giant tentacled monster from a different dimension shows up. And we just like, whatever, it happens. So I do think we need to know. I think all these things need to be explained in the Marvel Universe. Frederick Nicholas Jr. sends in a super chat and says, Wanda being a villain from the start was a major surprise. I like that too. That was a great reveal, but you could kind of tell when you see her sleeping and having what she thinks about her kids. But I thought it was great, and they made her a villain, and it was credible, and I loved it. So yeah, well done to everybody involved. Anthony C says, the Hollywood Reporter reported Loki would appear. Guess they're wrong. Yeah, I don't know where Loki would show up, but yeah, they said he would be there. Maybe he was cut out at the last minute. I don't know. Loki would have been, I think, a great addition to this, at least commented on it. And I guess we'll never know, which is kind of a bummer. So, Telephone Productions says, where did Wanda find that one-eyed monster? How is she controlling it? I have so many questions. I guess with her mind, I don't know where she found it. But remember, that's at the beginning of the movie, so maybe she's just trying to set up an alibi. Like, no, man, that wasn't me. But all good questions. I have no idea. No idea. And I wish I would have an idea, because the film needed to deal with those things. So, yeah. Nathan Link says, if they were going to include the Illuminati and then kill them to show Wanda's power, would they have benefited from a few minutes of showing how truly powerful these characters are? It felt a bit hollow. Well, Nathan, that's a great question. I think that we should have. I mean, I understand in the space of this movie, it's so breathlessly paced, but by not knowing these things, the characters don't resonate as much as they should. And I think that's actually a problem. a problem with it for the film. So maybe it's something they can rectify in the future. I don't know, but you're not wrong. Telephone Production says over or under 30%. Jim Halpert will not remain as our Reed Richards. Probably over 30%. That seems like a good number. Yeah, I'll take it. Frederick Nicholas Jr. says, bet the Illuminati won't underestimate Wanda again, though. Yeah, but they all got wiped out. But any new Illuminati, I mean, I hope they get briefed. I mean, what do? Do you send out a letter across the entire multiverse for everybody to hear or see or what? I don't know. But I hope that, in fact, they do send out that message because, yeah, it didn't end well for any of them. Christina B. says, I appreciate Raimi showing Strange to be a creative and resourceful fighter. I find there is a lack of that in superhero movies. Christina B., I'm right there with you. I love seeing superheroes train. Everybody just has these innate abilities. And, you know, you have to be, even if you're the strongest man in the world or whatever, you still have to practice what you're doing. So, yeah, I like that too. But I like seeing, showing us how how does it all develop? How do you hone your powers? How do you keep them in not just in check, but how do you keep them sharp? And I like that they did that. So just like you. Brandon Barrett sends in a super chat and says, I think the Illuminati heavy promos gave some people unrealistic expectations on the importance of their role in the movie. I think that's why Kevin was upset at the marketing. Totally agree. I thought this marketing went too far. It showed you too much, and they couldn't hold themselves back. And they figured, well, these cameos are just like what they had in No Way Home. Let's tease them all. But by doing that, they robbed the audience of experiencing what it's like to see those things for the first time. And I agree. I don't think they needed to do that. But then again, it had, what, almost a $450 million opening worldwide. So what do I know? Krypton Caged says, did you catch the Michael Waldron, writer for Loki and Multiverse of Madness cameo? I was the only one in the theater who recognized him and did the Leo point to Scream. Also, how awesome was the Black Bolt scene? I didn't see Michael Waldron because I don't know what he looks like, but that's great that you saw him. And I think that I love Black Bolt. I love that they brought back Black Bolt from the Inhumans TV series and redeemed him as a character. I thought that was fantastic. So, yeah. Well done. Movie Idiot. Wait, did I do Krypton Caged? Is that okay? Oh, yeah, there you go. Thank you. Movie Idiot. Oh, come on now. Don't be so hard on yourself. I was worried that Everything Everywhere All at Once would overshadow this movie for me, but it didn't. I think the horror elements were just amazing. Yeah, they're very different. Like, I remember when Deep Impact and Armageddon came out at the same time. Just because I thought Deep Impact was a better movie, it didn't curtail my total enjoyment of Armageddon. So I think that, you don't have to worry about one multiverse movie canceling out another. I think they both have their own joys and charms. Go with them both. And I'm glad they didn't cancel them out either. So Movie Idiot, well done. Kevin Frazier says, love the show, John. America's entrance to the MCU was splendid. The pacing was so frantic, but we didn't get a chance to really get to know her. Did you find yourself wanting more, and do you think she may be a Nexus being in the MCU? Well, I think she probably could be a Nexus being in the MCU, but I like the fact that she didn't really know what her power was or how to control it or what to do with it. And she may be a Nexus being, and they will develop that further. And I don't know how that's all going to work, but they definitely will. And I liked it. I liked her character. I thought she was great. Oh, those are both Kevin Frazier's. So I answered those. Yeah, there we go. Dwan Williams says, one of two. The zombie scene is such a perfect description of Doctor Strange. She's arrogant enough to cross all forbidden lines and then some and think all be okay. Yeah, Doctor Strange has an ego on him. He thinks he can do whatever he wants because he was once a surgeon. Now he was the Sorcerer Supreme. Now he's just a sorcerer. But yeah, I like that ego. And they play it up well. Doctor Strange was a dick at the beginning of Doctor Strange. Now he's grown into it. He's a mature guy, but he can bring the dick if he needs to. He can be a dick to people if he needs to do that. So I like that. I think he's a great character. I love the way Cumberbatch is playing him. So yeah, I'm a big fan. And you know what? This is the second part of Dwan's question, which he said, but he's also selfless enough to take great risk and self-sacrifice for the sake of others. I agree. You know, he's an arrogant SOB. He's a prick. He really is. But he's learned humbleness. I mean, he lost the use of his hands. He couldn't be a surgeon anymore. He went on his walkabout, and now he's found a new lease on life. So yeah, I think that you never lose dickishness. But he's learned to temper that. He's learned to be who he was always meant to be. So yeah, I like that. I think that's a good arc for him. Bat Talk sends in a super chat and says, "Hey John, I saw it. It's okay. Marvel is being held back for me because a lot of it feels safe. I love how DC had freed up for filmmakers' vision like Joker, Batman, and the Suicide Squad." Well, Bat Talk, you got to understand, I mean, the MCU from its very conception is this interconnected stretch of movies. So it was always going to be this way. Always going to be this way. So, yeah. Jerome says, think metaphorically Strange encouraging Chavez to control her power and fight Wanda was letting someone else hold the knife. I don't think you're wrong. I think that's absolutely, there's something to be said for that, but, you know, or making sure that somebody else could hold the knife if they needed to, you know, in case something went wrong, in case someone died. So I think that was probably a smart thing. I mean, I think he had to do that. He had to encourage her, because if they lost him, he saw remember, Strange saw his own dead body from a different universe in the beginning of the film that America Chavez showed him. So he knew the stakes were the highest they could be. Fredo Valakaz says, 8 out of 10 movie, didn't like the ending. You didn't like the ending. I mean, I can understand that, but it's kind of a bummer, but I'm sorry you didn't like it. But I liked it. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. Jagar Garcia says, Doctor Strange and the MacGuffins of Madness. Well, you're not wrong there. A lot of MacGuffins happening, which, you know, I mean, it just, I think people wanted the Illuminati to be main characters in the story and see more of them. But remember, it's still a Doctor Strange movie, and it's kind of intimate. It's kind of nice. It's a story about Doctor Strange trying to help Wanda and free her from the Darkhold, and people die. Johnny Levesque sends in a super chat and says, fan since the AMC days as a teen. First time I've had a paycheck good enough to contribute. Well, Johnny, we appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I will tell John, maybe if he can hear me speaking loud, he'll know that you've been watching since the AMC days, and this is your very first super chat. We all appreciate that here. The music note scene was one of the most creative fight scenes. I loved it. I thought that was really clever. I really did. I know it was a little weird for people. I thought it was really clever. I'm glad you really liked that. And thanks, by the way, for sticking. I'm sure I'm speaking for John when I say thank you for sticking with the show all these times. I mean, my God, you're a teen. Now you're an adult. You're getting paychecks. You're sending them to us. That's the way adulthood should be. We should tell everybody who's been watching this show to do that same thing. We very much appreciate it. And thank you for being such a long-time viewer. Groovy Don't Play sends in a super chat. 7 out of 10 could easily have been great with tweaks. Well, you know, as John says, all movies are subjective. It depends what you're looking for, Groovy. But I get it. It wasn't perfect, and I understand. I do understand. Our friend Ismail Montoya sends in a super chat and says, would you have preferred to remove Chthon's castle and just expand the Wanda Illuminati fight, toggle between multiverses, and really make it madness? To be honest, Ismail, yeah, I would have. I think that would have been more. I would have liked to have seen the Illuminati and the multiverses. I mean, I would have loved to have seen an epic fight through all of these different multiverses. We saw snippets of it, but really watch the Illuminati fight and have more people join in from different universes to defeat Wanda, to the point where it turns into some epic Portals-like battle. But that would have been too much, even though I would have loved it. Probably too much. But you're not wrong. Jerome says, I think Professor X could have killed Wanda. Jerome, I think you're not wrong. But Professor X, I don't think, would have done that, because he knows Wanda, or he would have probably gotten into her mind. He's done it before in the comics. I don't think Professor X would have killed Wanda. I don't. He would have gotten into her mind and tried to help her, free her of the Darkhold. It wouldn't have worked, but I don't think he would have tried to kill her. I don't think that's what he would do. Danny Price sends in a $22 super chat, actually a $22.62 super chat. Thank you, Danny. Do you feel they did enough to develop Stephen over Doctor Strange? Felt I didn't learn anything new. It was a fun display, but it didn't move the needle for me. Been watching since your Straight Outta Compton review. Wow, Straight Outta Compton. Big love. Well, Danny Price, that's a long time to watch a show, but let me ask you, moving your needle. I mean, I feel that a lot of the time, you know, even me, I feel this way, that the expectation for these movies is that they're going to be the greatest movies ever. And I think this movie was a little bit a smaller movie. I mean, I say that, smaller, multiverse, whatever, but it felt more of an intimate film that was kind of disassociated from the MCU. And it was just a Doctor Strange Wanda story. And I liked it for that. It had big ramifications, but as far as an MCU story goes, it was still kind of, it was within the family. But I understand they make you expect so much for these films when sometimes they should, I think, mitigate those expectations. Kay Green says, not enough multiverse and not enough madness for me. Well, Kay Green, I'm sorry about that. Not enough multiverse and not enough madness. The thing is, how much madness is enough? How much multiverse is enough? Who's to say? But, you know, there's other people who have said the same thing, and I don't necessarily think they're necessarily wrong. Dylan Bryant sends in, oh, hang on. Well, Dylan Bryant sends in a super chat with no question. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate that. The Hutch sends in a super chat and says, as a music guy, the music fight was hilarious, and I loved it. Wizards throwing music notes at each other, scored with Bach and Beethoven. Come on. Well, the Hutch, I felt the same way. That was really clever. I mean, when have you ever seen that in a movie before? I mean, they're literally battling with music. I was there for that. I thought that was awesome. I'm glad, the Hutch, you liked it. Attack of the Mushi sends in a super chat and says, I would have loved a longer Illuminati fight. Attack of the Mushi, I'm with you. I've been saying this the whole time. I wanted to see a much bigger battle with the Illuminati, but I guess, you know, then they would have had to pay those actors a lot more money, and they would have worked for a lot longer, and it probably was very difficult to even get them to do, schedule-wise, to do all of those things that they did. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen a bigger battle too. Sean Miner says, does the movie make your top 10 Marvel movies? Hope you're having a great Sunday. Sean, it doesn't for me, because to me, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has come to mean the Cinematic Universe. And if I started counting down, you know, my favorite Marvel movies in order, beginning with Iron Man, this probably wouldn't be in there. But that said, as a standalone movie, I really enjoyed it. I really had a lot of fun with it. I really liked watching it. But as an MCU film, I thought it was a minor MCU movie. But I did enjoy watching the film. Anthony Pederez sends in a super chat and says, hey, John, just wanted to say thanks to you and the crew for being so kind to my family and I. My son Kylo has not stopped talking about seeing you guys. Well, Anthony, you tell your son Kylo he has great parents and to mind them and eat his peas. But thank you. It's always nice to meet friends and family and our viewers, and I'm glad that your kid can't stop talking about, hope he's talking about me the most, though, because he should be. No, I'm just kidding. Dr. Hero sends in a super chat. Well, thank you, Dr. Hero. Thank you. David D. sends in a super chat and says, with multiverse villains, should have been a Wanda variant, as I don't see how MCU Wanda should be allowed to live. This wasn't Bucky being brainwashed. Yes, but it was Wanda being corrupted by the Darkhold. It wasn't, I mean, yes, she willingly opened up the Darkhold and started delving into magics and things she wasn't supposed to do, but you know, still, I don't think she deserved to die. Maybe that's just me. Casey Mack says, it's interesting that Strange still remembers a multiverse with Spider-Man. Wonder if he remembers that he did the spell while the world doesn't know Spider-Man's identity. Remember, it's Peter Parker that everybody has forgotten, not Spider-Man. Doctor Strange would know. He's fought with Spider-Man side by side. He would know that, but he just doesn't know who's underneath Spider-Man's cowl. I think that's an important distinction. Everyone still knows Spider-Man. They don't know who Peter Parker is. Jonathan Santiago sends in a super chat and says, it's one of the worst critic-received MCU movies, 75%. I thought it was okay. Yeah, I mean, look, I think the multiverse and all this comic book gobbledygook sort of, a lot of people, they can't get it. They sort of tune out. It's not grounded enough for them to get it. Coupled with Sam Raimi's direction, it doesn't surprise me that critics didn't love it as much as, say, I liked it. But that doesn't surprise me because it's, you know, it's harder for people to grasp. It's harder for people to understand. What is this multiverse stuff anyway? How does it work? So, yeah. Julius Goodwin. Hello, Julius Goodwin. How are you? If Reed died during this movie, how in the world are we going to get Fantastic Four, do you think? Well, a different Reed Richards died from a different universe. Our Reed Richards did not die. So the Reed Richards in our universe, we still have yet to meet. We don't even have the Fantastic Four. So I think that's how we're going to get a Fantastic Four movie. The Wakandan Forever sends in a super chat and says, it was fantastic and uncanny. Wanda Forever, laugh out loud. Well, Wakandan Forever, if you feel that way, yes. Wanda Forever, I love Wanda. Bring her on. Bring her on. Chef Rigo sends in a super chat and says, multiverse of madness, more like multiverse of midness. Am I right? Laugh out loud. Just kidding. I thought it was okay. I hope to see you guys Wednesday or Thursday. I can't speak to that. Multiverse of midness was pretty funny, Chef Rigo. I am dying to come to your restaurant. Dying. So keep some food hot for me. I'll come one day. Maybe I'll just come by myself and surprise you. Although I don't know what you look like, so maybe that wouldn't work out for me. I could ask the front to be seated at your table, though. Chris123 sends in a super chat and says, Wanda showing up in blood without demonstration was a miss for me. Don't quite know what you mean there. Without demonstration. I just think, look, when girls show up in blood, I'm there. I don't know why. If they're dripping from blood, I love seeing witches dripping with blood. I love seeing, like, Carrie White in the movie Carrie when she's dripping with blood and she kills all of the people at her high school prom. I'm there for that. So whenever angry women show up with blood on them, I'll watch. I'm down with whatever happens next. Chris123, I already said that, but you know what? Once again, chicks drenched in blood, wreck and shop. I'm there for it. Dan Ketchum sends in a super chat and says, Wanda is even hotter when she's evil. Dan, I'm glad I didn't say it because I would get canceled. Since you said it, yes, I love evil women. They're better when they're evil. That's why Catherine Tremell in Basic Instinct is one of my favorite movie characters, because she's filthy rich and she kills people. Love it. Jamie Hamilton sends in a super chat and says, do you think since there is a variant in each universe of a character, could it be Billy Kaplan and Tommy Shepard already exist in Earth 616? Thanks. They very well could, but I don't think so because they'd have to be Wanda's kids. I mean, wouldn't they? Wouldn't that be the case? I think. Danny Price sends in a $5.65 super chat. Did you have an issue with Spider-Man post-credit scene, a lesson about patience, similar gag as It's Over? No, not really. I mean, look, it's Sam Raimi doing that. I love the Evil Dead movies, so yeah, I didn't mind it. I just thought it was a minor way to end the movie. They could have done something better. It was such a specific joke for Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and Evil Dead fans. I thought they could have done more with that. The ramifications of what happened in this movie should have led to something more. I mean, I guess we had Clea, so Jonathan, where are we at? Okay. Jason Barney says, so what's our Mordo been up to? Jason, a good question. We don't know. It'll be interesting to find out. Don't know. So we'll see. Dr. Hero sends in a super chat and says, Doctor Strange 2 box office worldwide, $450 million after the first weekend. Nice. Yeah, it is nice. But the real test will be coming at the second weekend and see where we're at for that, because we don't know. We'll find out, but we don't know yet. Philly G, actually, no. Gracious RT sends in a super chat and says, Doctor Strange broke the rules and pissed off hell. This is the first time I actually believe Mephisto could show by sending Ghost Rider after Strange. Well, that's the thing. We don't know what the supernatural realm is going to do. But it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes, because until we see Blade and the Black Knight with the cursed blade, not Blade, the blade he wields, not Blade being cursed, it's going to be really interesting to see. We're going to get Werewolf by Night. We know that. Michael Giacchino is directing the Werewolf by Night special, which ties into Moon Knight. I don't know how it's all going to work, but it's going to be really interesting to see. Will there be ramifications? I don't know. 625 Realone sends in a super chat. Thank you. Daniel Smee sends in a super chat. Is it Smee? Thank you. And Brian Whitney again. Brian, our sugar daddy, with a $50 super chat. Brian Whitney, you're a good man. Thank you so much for supporting the channel the way you do. Eric Cohen sent in a $20 super chat. Kevin Cow sent in another super chat. Desmond Dukes sent in a $50 super chat. Desmond. I don't know why I said Darren. Desmond. Thank you so much. No question, but thank you for the support. Krypton Cage sent in a super chat and says, did you catch the Michael Waldron writer for Loki and Multiverse of Madness cameo? I was the only one in the theater who recognized him and did the Leo point to the screen. Also, how awesome was the Black Bolt scene? I think we already read this one. Yeah, that is. What about the Frederick Nicholas one? Bet the Illuminati won't underestimate Wanda again, though. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I read that one. We read that one too. I guess we're done. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, viewers of the John Campea Show, I want to thank you for supporting the channel in a generous fashion. You give us something to talk about, and you support the channel while we are doing so. I love, or why you're doing so, why I'm doing so, while anyone is doing so. Thank you so much for that support from all of us here. And, of course, I'm sure we're going to be doing more spoiler talk for upcoming movies and TV shows, so look out for that. Obviously, you can watch us every day on the John Campea Show. And remember, 24/7, 7 days a week, you can send us a tip. And if we deem those questions worthy, we will put them in a mailbag. And what's not to love about that? My name is Robert Meyer Burnett. And if you want to do something John Campea can't do, follow me on Instagram at RMBurnett. On Instagram. You can also find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on my own YouTube channel, The Post Geek Singularity, and I'm on TikTok there too. What's not to love? And once again, thank you for participating in this spoiler discussion, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.